ladies and gentlemen, this is a conversation. Please welcome Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, with Newsmax's Rob Finnerty.
Thank you. Thanks, buddy.
Good to see you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Look at all the patriots gathered. This is great.
Fantastic.
About to make America great again for the next 4 years. We want to thank Matt and Mercedes Schlapp for putting this together. On behalf of Newsmax, Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah.
As everyone just heard, Kash Patel it's official. Murkowski and Collins voted against him. Mitch McConnell voted for him and announced that he's not going to run again in 2 years. I guess my question is, which one surprised you more today?
Well, I'm glad he did it, and I want to tip my hat to Leader Thune and the Senate Republicans. They're getting the job done. The Trump cabinet is being confirmed. We need that. President Trump needs his team in place, and I'm really grateful that they're moving as quickly as they are, and they're setting a good pace, and so far, so good.
So, Mr. Speaker, only twice in, I believe, 85 years has the president's party picked up seats in the midterm elections. But you are going to change that in 2 years.
We are. There's a lot of reasons for that. We're going to defy history, and we're going to grow the House majority in 2 years and not lose the majority. I think everybody recognizes President Trump needs 4 years and not 2. And if they took the majority back, they would try to impeach him, they would open the border wide, they would create all sorts of chaos. So we have to win, and we will. And let me tell you why. Because we have a very favorable landscape. Right now, as we're sitting here today, 13 House Democrats are sitting in districts that President Trump won pretty handily. That's right. There's more than 20 districts that President Trump came within 5 points of winning. So we've got a great landscape to go out and play offense, not defense, but offense, to flip those seats into our column. And on top of that, we had an historic demographic shift in the election cycle. We all saw it happening. We had a record number of Hispanic and Latino voters, Black and African American voters, Jewish voters, union workers, all these groups that had not traditionally been in the Republican Party, but on the sheer force of Donald Trump's persona, they came into the party, and they're going to be with us for quite some time, because now we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity, Rob, to demonstrate for these people that it truly is our conservative policies that are better for them, that leads to human flourishing. It's better for individuals, families, communities, states, and the nation as a whole. We do that, we'll hold this majority for quite some time.
Question I've wanted to ask you for a while. So before the election, Trump Force One, Donald Trump's personal plane, there was a photograph. I'm going to name you 4 people that were in this photograph. Kid Rock, RFK Jr., Elon Musk, Donald Trump, the 5th person, House Speaker Mike Johnson.
That's my crew, man.
Did you ever think that group would be together at 30,000 feet?
You left out Jelly Roll. I mean, it's a great group.
Yeah.
We went to the UFC fight. It was in Madison Square Garden, and we did a round trip to Palm Beach, to South Florida, in the same night. So we arrived back at Palm Beach about 4:25 in the morning, and everybody you just named was up like it was the middle of the afternoon, man. It was a great event. But look, that's the power of President Trump. He brings together all sorts of people that would not otherwise be unified like that. And it's a great thing for the country. It's unifying for the country. And there's talent, and it's a motley crew sometimes, but in a beautiful way. And that's been one of the highlights of being Speaker, is hanging out with that crew.
Absolutely. And you fit right in.
Yeah.
You fit right in. Can you explain why the left and why so many Democrats are enraged at Donald Trump right now for trying to end 2 wars that he did not start?
I wish I could explain the Democrats. They're just enraged about everything. They think about it. Their policies and their parties are in totally disarray. They don't have a leader. They don't have a real vision forward. They don't know where they're going to head. The entire platform has been repudiated by the American people. The woke progressive nonsense has been stamped out. And so all they know to do is to lash out. I mean, think of it. They're opposing the ending of wars. They're opposing they're imposing the Doge effort, right? What Elon and the team are doing is what Congress has not had the ability to do. They have cracked the code. They're inside the belly of the beast of the bureaucracy, and the algorithms are crawling through. That's right. They're exposing this massive fraud, waste, and abuse that we have not been able to uncover because the deep state has hidden it from us. This is a revolutionary kind of moment. It really is. And I told Elon in his office Monday before last, I said, you think of this like a scientist and a data analyst, and I think of it like a constitutional law attorney and a historian. Elon, what we're going to do here is bring back the founders' original intent for the federal government, right? I mean, Rob, you know, you're a student of history as well. The founders wanted a lean, small federal government. They wanted most of the power pushed down to the states, as you know, and they wanted the federal government to be closely monitored by the duly elected representatives of the people in Congress. The problem is, Congress has not been able to do that job because they've been hiding the evidence, hiding the ball. Elon's on the inside, and that's why the Democrats are so nervous. He is right over the target right now. Yeah.
It's been remarkable to see the Department of Government Efficiency. That's what DOGE stands for. Department of Government Efficiency. And Democrats are almost in this un-American position right now of being against their primary mission, which is to save the American taxpayer money, which to me doesn't make any sense.
They like to spend the taxpayer's dollar. I don't think that's ever been...
They sure do.
They're for big government. That's what big government progressives do. They want the government to control every aspect of our lives. And the last 4 years, Biden-Harris administration, it was, regulations on steroids. And so now we have an opportunity to fix everything. We have a very ambitious, very aggressive legislative agenda because we have been given this opportunity by the voters to fix it. President Trump got 77 million popular votes, right? Yeah. In the House, House Republicans got 74.8 million popular votes. That's the highest total we've ever gotten.
Wow.
Yeah. So we see it as a mandate to dial all that back and to fix it. And you're seeing that happen very aggressively. The president is over 300 executive actions already. And we're going to codify so much of what he's doing so that the next team can't unwind it. That's right.
In America, we hold presidential elections every 4 years. We did so during COVID. We did so during the Second World War. We did so during the Civil War. During the War of 1812, the White House was burned to the ground 3 months before James Madison was elected. How important is it for Ukraine to hold presidential elections?
Well, it's very important, of course, and
because they were canceled last spring.
That's right. And the president has pointed that out.
And they claim to be a democracy.
That's right. We need an end to the conflict, and what I've explained, I've done 2 panels at 2 different events this morning. I started the Republican Governors Association. They asked me about this, and I went to the big business leaders, Fortune 500 executives there. They all want to know the same thing. What is President Trump doing there? I said, you got to give him room to operate and do what he does. He's doing a level set. Right? You've got to get both parties to come and bring about an end to this conflict, which will serve America's interest and everybody's interest around the world. But I think of it very much like a mediation or arbitration. If you're a lawyer, I'm a recovering lawyer, forgive me, I think of those terms. But when you start a mediation, you start an arbitration between 2 parties, you don't bring them into the room for that first meeting. You do it separately. So I think Zelensky complaining that he wasn't invited to the first meeting with Saudi Arabia and Russia is misplaced. I mean, what Trump's trying to do is do a level set, put the conditions in place for that real negotiation to happen, and we've got to allow him to do what he does. Remember, he wrote The Art of the Deal. He knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Okay?
If that level set takes, let's say, 3-6 months, or it drags on, do you see another funding bill for the war in Ukraine?
Look, there's no appetite for that. What do you think? No. Yeah.
We got our answer there?
We have to bring it to an end. And I can tell you that our European allies understand the necessity of this as well. It's drug on too long. By some estimates, Russia's lost almost 700,000 troops, maybe more. The Ukrainians have suffered great losses. We have to bring an end to the conflict. President Trump is exactly right. It's time for it to end, and he is the brute force, I think, that can make that happen.
The president said that a percentage of DOGE savings could maybe go back to the American people in the form of what he called Doge stimulus checks, something like 20%. How would that work?
Well, look, I mean, politically, that would be great for us, you send everybody a check, but really, we have to think of it, I think, in a
That just got everybody's attention, by the way.
I know.
I just saw everybody look up all of a sudden.
I know.
Yep.
But if you think about our core principles, right, fiscal responsibility is what we do as conservatives. That's our brand. And we have a $36 trillion federal debt. We have a giant deficit that we're contending with. I think we need to pay down the credit card, right? That's what I think we need to do.
Mr. Speaker, we keep hearing about this one big, beautiful bill. Tell me how big, how beautiful?
Oh, it's going to be so big. I shouldn't do it in that voice. So the beauty of reconciliation, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on the procedure, but normally you need a 60-vote threshold in the Senate to do anything of substance, but budget reconciliation is the one exception to the process where you only need 51 votes in the Senate, a bare majority. So we're going to use this reconciliation process to achieve most of the priorities that we ran on in the election cycle and that President Trump, that's right, committed to. So I could be here a long time listing all those things, but clearly it's the most important interest of the country. We're going to secure that border once and for all. We're going to do that. We're going to get the economy going again, American economy going, make sure that we don't have the largest tax increase in U.S. history, which is what would happen by default at the end of this year if we fail in this mission, because the TCJA, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act extensions expire, the cuts expire. We're going to get the economy going. We're going to get back to American energy dominance in this bill. Yep. And we're going to take a blowtorch to the regulatory state, get the bureaucracy back in check. Lots of details, lots of subcategories under all that, but it's going to be a big, beautiful bill, and it has to be by necessity because that gives us the highest probability of success, remembering that I have a small margin in the House.
One.
I have one vote for much of this. What could go wrong, Rob? It's going to be fine.
Right.
But everybody is committed to delivering the America First agenda, and that's why we're going to get it done. So,
what is your working dynamic like with Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who for the first time in a long time, the Senate's got a bigger majority than the House right now?
Yeah, they do. The Republican majority in the Senate has a larger margin than we do in the House. And so by necessity, the two chambers have to work very closely together, and that's kind of an innovation. It doesn't really happen in Washington. It hasn't so long as I've been there. But as soon as I became Speaker of the House in October 23, the first instinct I had was go meet with the Senate Republicans and let's align the two chambers. It just makes sense. It's common sense. So we're doing that. And you're going to see no daylight between the Republicans in the House and Senate. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, there was some reporting this week that the Democrats are planning what they're calling a super ticket in 2028, Kamala Harris and AOC. Are you prepared for that?
Oh, let it be so. Let it be so. Wow. Is that real? Is that real?
That's an actual legitimate, well, I use that word legitimate very loosely nowadays with the media, but that report is out there, we'll say.
Wow.
I don't know
amazing.
who would run for president and who would be VP.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I so hope that happens.
Do the Democrats, do they have a leader right now?
No, they don't. They don't have a leader.
Is there any leader at any level? Or is it still Joe Biden?
Well, he wasn't the leader for the last 4 years. They really are in a real bind. They don't have a leader. They don't have a vision. They don't have a platform they can run on. They have to do a whole cloth reinvention of the party. But they're very divided right now because they're in the blame game as they do the autopsy of what happened in the election cycle. So it's an interesting time. Look, our party's in great shape right now. We are very unified. We have a broadened coalition. That's exactly right. And we have the principles and the policies that truly are better for the American people. I think they've recognized that. You know what happened in the last 4 years, Rob, is that the woke progressive left tried so hard, they moved so aggressively, so quickly to swing that pendulum to the left, and it went all the way to the left and it clicked. And now it's coming back, right? We are a center-right country. We always have been, we always will be. And I think President Trump is seen as a force helping us to push that pendulum back in place. So we're going to seize that historic moment. And I believe we can bring about a much better outcome for the people and for the country.
Two questions. Elon Musk tweeted yesterday, quote, "The real reason so many Democrats are upset about entitlements is that they're using taxpayer money to attract and retain illegal immigrants, their future voters." Is that what you think the last 4 years at both our borders has been all about?
100%. They opened the borders wide. They did not care about the calamity and the heartache and the death, frankly, that it caused of American citizens, because it was a power play. They wanted to turn these people into voters, and they want to change the outcome of the census in 5 years. This is very serious, and we're going to be dealing with the effects of this, the catastrophe, for years to come. It's a terrible tragedy, and don't ever forget that was their motive. It was for their own political gain that they put the American people in such jeopardy. Fentanyl alone is the leading cause of death for Americans between the ages of 18 and 45, and that's flowed open the border. Human trafficking, all of the atrocities. They lost hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied minors in the system somewhere to traffickers. All of it, they turned the other way. They could have sealed that border any moment. The president had the authority, and I asked him personally on multiple occasions. I pleaded with him. I begged Joe Biden, use your authority. And he'd look down at the floor and shuffle his shoes and say, I can't do that. Well, the American people let him know how they felt about that.
Can I ask you, now that the horse is out of the barn, Joe Biden is in Rehoboth Beach, retired, how did he seem during those moments where you were with him in person?
It was only a couple of occasions. I talked to him on the phone a few more times than that. They didn't allow me to meet with him one-on-one for probably obvious
why.
reasons now. Yeah. But there's a, now widely reported story of something that happened, I think it was in early February of last year, when I was in the Oval Office and I asked him why he paused LNG exports. Like, Mr. President, why would you pause liquefied natural gas exports to our European allies? Because they're going to have to go to Vladimir Putin to get their needs met. And he tried to argue with me and tell me that he didn't do that. And it occurred to me in this dialogue that he genuinely did not know what he had signed. That they had put this executive order in front of him, and he didn't understand what it was. And that was a very alarming moment of realization for me. And I think the whole country knows now. But it was a dangerous time, a very perilous time for us, particularly in that last year of his administration. But thank God that President Trump is back in the White House, and we can restore this.
I think, Mr. Speaker, this room knows you, but I think the American people are still getting to know you. And I thought this was wonderful. Your son is on the boxing team at the Naval Academy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. How is he doing?
Well, he's bigger than his father. He's doing great. He made it to semifinals in the brigade, championship last Friday, and lost in a 1-point split decision to a young man that was 3 years older than him and had been boxing about 6 years longer, I think. So he held his own. He's been boxing for about 7 months. Okay, so
7 months and he's on the team.
Yeah. He did jiu-jitsu for a long time. He's a tough kid, but this is a different kind of.
Does he learn that from his father?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, of course.
Yes,
of course. No, he's a tough kid. He's a great kid. He takes after his mother.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Thank you. Appreciate it.